Well, hello, this is Jeff Gaudiosi, and you're on misplacedstraws.com where music comes to life. And my guest today is just one of the most talented and influential vocalists to come out of the 90s. Whether you know her for great records like Rats and Racine, or her time as a judge on Canadian Idol, or even the great music she's still putting out to this day, you should know Sass Jordan. She's just released a live record capturing her all-star band at the height of their powers called Live in 1994. Please welcome Sass Jordan. Welcome.
Woohoo! The pterodactyl has landed.
Yes, she has. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Jeff.
So
Woohoo!
now we need to start with the band that backs you on this live record because they are amazing. Of course, the late great Taylor Hawkins on drums. Probably the most underrated musician on the planet, Stevie Salas on guitar. Tony Reyes, who literally went on to play with everybody on bass, and Nick Lashley on the other guitar. Now, Stevie wrote a little bit on Racine and co-wrote most of Rats with you. Taylor didn't play on the record, but came in on the tour. How did you put this band together?
Well, let's see. So Racine was okay. No, you know what? I have to look through the annals of my memory right here. And seeing as that is, last century sometime. So I know what happened. Okay, so Nick Didia
Mhm.
was produced Rats, right? And he's the one who said we got to get Tony Reyes involved. Sorry, this is me like scrambling through my memory banks here, and that's how Tony came in. Nick had already been playing with me since Racine. He was on the Racine tour. Salas was in and out. He was always in and out. And then Taylor, we needed a drummer. That's right, we needed a drummer, and so Salas and I heard of him. He was in Laguna Beach at the time. Like nobody, he wasn't playing, professional gigs at all. Nobody, he was completely unknown, so to speak. And so he drove up to the rehearsal space in LA, and he came in, and basically the first thing that hits you with Taylor is this amazing energy that always surrounded him his entire life. He just emits, but it's not just like crackling, crazy, wild energy. It's also full of love. I don't know how to explain it, but there's just a beautiful, beautiful soul. And it was like, I don't even care if this guy can play. He's such an awesome human being. Let's hire him anyway. And he was pretty bad. He was pretty bad at that. He would have told you too, because he played everything about 50 million times too fast. But your nerves, and you're just, when you're young and really young and just starting, sometimes it's hard to rein yourself in because everything's so goddamn exciting. Of course, in my case, at the age of 95, everything is still exciting. So it never slows down, but so that's how that's how it started. That's how it came in. And because Tony had played so great on the record, he didn't play on the whole record. He didn't play on all of it, though, did he? On Rats, because I know Tom Peterson played on some of it, and other people. Can't believe it's slipping my mind, but it is. Anyways, whatever. Who really cares? Point is, it was a fabulous band. We had so much fun together. I mean, Tony and Taylor fought nonstop. It was amazing. Tony. he had braids at the time, and Taylor goes, "Oh, you and your Lee press-on hair." I remember them having a fist fight over that one. Oh my god, it was yeah, we had such a good time. Anyways, yeah, and it ended. That whole tour ended in late '94, I think it was. Was it late '94? or was it the first month? No, I think it was late 94 is when that whole tour ended. And it ended in LA at the Pantages Theater. I was playing with Steve Perry, supporting Steve Perry. It was a tour that we did. And my manager had a friend who was also a manager who was managing this young gal from Canada. And they were looking for a band for her. And so they said to my manager, do you mind if we come and check out the band? Because we know this is Sass's last show. So maybe, we can hire some of the band. If Sass doesn't mind, of course I don't mind. They're musicians, they need a job. Of course not. And I don't know when the hell I'm gonna be playing again anytime soon. And I ain't got enough money to keep them on retainer. So I suggest they go out and do their thing. So it turns out it's she hires Taylor and Nikki, and she's Alanis Morissette. So 4 months later, it's the biggest band in the world. See ya.
Now, the performances on this record, I mean, it's just explosive. And I remember I saw you on this tour, and I was just amazed at the power that the band had matched the power that you have in your voice. And that comes across on this record. When you listen back to Live in 94, does it match what you remember it being from the stage?
Ooh, interesting question, my man. I gotta tell you, I don't remember much. I'm not gonna lie, because it's like 3 lifetimes ago at this point. Seriously, it really is. But so what I remember mostly, Jeff, is more like impressions, like rather than concrete, oh, this, that, the other thing kind of memories, which a lot of people have those kind of memories. Me, it's just like, when you have a dream and you wake up the next day and it's like you go to tell somebody about it and all you can say is, it was just really weird. Because you can't explain what the hell it was. It was more like a vibe or impressions, impossible to describe. So it was such an intense time. I do know that. I do remember that. It was a very intense time. There was a lot of stuff going on. And also, it's an exhausting lifestyle. It's absolutely, it's completely adrenal fueled. So when that runs out, when your adrenals just get completely poached, which they do, it's like nobody in their, other people use drugs, alcohol, what have you. I understand why, but that's it. It just wears you out, and it's emotionally exhausting as well, because you're constantly moving. There's never any time to get grounded in anything, and that's really important for human beings, I would say. Constantly moving is not a natural state for a human being. And so your relationships go all over the place, because you're just never available, right? And you barely have a relationship with yourself. And it's and when you're constantly moving and constantly meeting hundreds and hundreds of people all the time, it's just basically what I'm trying to say is the whole goddamn thing is extremely exhausting. And so that's another reason why I don't really recall a lot of it, but I do recall the impression I have of that particular performance was just this kind of urgency, like it's this intense urgency. And I think it fits so well when you transpose that to this day and age. Everybody's going sideways. What the hell? Because it feels like the ground's shifting underneath your feet. Nobody, there's no sense of being sure about anything these days. I'm not saying there ever really was, but now it's right in your face. Like you can't avoid it anymore. You never know what the hell's gonna happen tomorrow. Holy shit! Hang on, kids, because time is all over the place. We're just going through a massive collective shift. It's planetary wide, and there's no avoiding it. And it's almost as if that record was prophetic. It was almost like you could feel this was coming, and it was like, oh, woo, get us to the finish line. We got to get this done. Like that kind of vibe, but it also, it's sparkling, and it's very, I find it really kind of uplifting. It's just got this fantastic energy in it.
And like I said, just as incredible as this record and this particular performance is, I mean, it's coming out now, kind of marking a tribute to 1 year since we lost Taylor. But why wasn't this record out earlier? I mean, listening to it now, you're like, how was this set on for 30 years?
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? Because it doesn't sound old.
No.
It's weird.
No.
It's so, that's really interesting, isn't it? It doesn't sound old. Well, the reason is there's a couple of reasons. The main reason is I don't really like looking back. It's every time I do it, it's because somebody's asked me to do it. So, because to me, it's like what's behind is behind. I'm more interested in now and going forward. That is not to say that it's a bad thing. It's just, that's my mindset. But if you think about it, isn't it great that I didn't put it out earlier? I think it's like the timing is actually absolutely perfect. It's perfect for the collective energy right now. It's absolutely perfect. I think everything has its time. And this just happened to be its time. Never thought about it before until somebody who's really close to me, suggested it. They said, it's coming up. It's like almost a year since Taylor's been gone, and people have been asking for a live album forever. Maybe you should just, maybe this is the time. And it was like, goddamn, you're right, motherfucker. I'm gonna tell you what. Yeah.
And now, are there any other? We mentioned that Taylor didn't play on the record. Brian Titchy did the drums on the record.
Right, correct.
Were there any demos that you guys recorded over that tour, or any other live performances of Taylor playing with you?
Yes. There's another one live in Detroit, at the Roseland. I think it was called the Roseland Theater or something like that. I can't remember what it was exactly. We do have that. The sound quality is not as good. So it was like, we might, like put some of those out just for fun if people are, that interested at some point. But I don't see that being like a record. It wouldn't work that great. Streaming is fine, whatever, if you're really deeply into it. Is there videos? Well, yeah, there is, but it's all on YouTube. You can see video. Yeah, but that's about it, because don't forget that's like, it's last century. It's pre-cell phones. You know what I mean? All the photographs that we have, they're just these cheesy little, those cameras that you give the supermarket. I don't know if you remember that, but those disposable cameras, and oh my God, I forgot about that. But all those photographs are really from those disposable cameras, or maybe a Polaroid here and there. So it's just like you can't make that look better. It just is what it is.
Yeah. And from a fan perspective, we mentioned that I first heard you with Make You a Believer in the Racine record, which was a huge success for you. And then you had the success of your song on the Bodyguard soundtrack, the biggest soundtrack ever. And then you come back with Rats, which, blew us all away. But in reality, Rats didn't sell as well, and actually dropped by the label.
Yeah. Oh, why? I know why.
Yeah. I mean, what was your reaction to putting out this incredible record with this incredible band, and the label still was like, yeah, no thanks?
Well, in their defense, not that they need defending, but the fact of the matter is, at the time, the music business, and I'm not really a part of it anymore. I don't know that anyone really is anymore, because it's so completely different now. Everything is internet driven now, really. That's how people, anyways. But at the time, it was completely run and engineered by the labels, etc. And what was happening at that time, when Rats came out, that was the changeover to what they called, oh fuck, I forgot the name of it, modern rock or
Yeah.
so it was, grunge is what they called it. It was called grunge. And I was and still am female. And it wasn't a big thing. Let me tell you, it was a struggle to get me on the radio, even with Racine. And the only reason Racine did as well as it did was because people just liked it so much that the fuckers couldn't stop it. This is the way I see it. Like, I could be wrong about all of this, but this is the way I see it. And but when it came to Rats, it was like, chicks can't play this music. What the hell is this? Plus, it's kind of like, it's kind of like blues rock. It's like Nirvana, man. That's it. Whatever it was, Pearl Jam, Nirvana, whatever the fuck it was. I can't remember. But, and it was like they were not having a girl. They're just, no, there was just no way until Alanis came out. But if you listen to that Alanis thing, it's nowhere near as heavy. I mean, it's heavy emotionally, but it was much more tailored. It was like more acceptable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Plus, it was a couple of years later, so so the tide had shifted yet again. But it was just my timing was past. Well, it wasn't my. It was my timing, or all of our timing. It's just it was terrible timing, and radio stations didn't want to play it because it's chick. No. And also, I said the word piss, and they did not appreciate it at the time, which is so hilarious. If you listen to rap now, female rappers, oh my dear Lord, I'm like, turn that shit off. It's disgusting. But you know what I mean? It's like what you can get away with now. Oh, not that I would never be like that, but let me tell you, they thought it was the most vulgar possible thing that a girl would be saying pissing. What? And of course, my parents are British. I was born in England. I never lived there, full disclosure, but I was exposed to that kind of to the vernacular and to all that shit. So pissing down. Hey, what's the weather like? I don't know. It's like it's kind of pissing down right now. That's an expression. It means it's pouring fucking rain. Okay, so to me, I wasn't saying anything rude, but they did not like that in Heartland America at the time. That just was not a thing. So that is pretty much my theory. I just don't think. I think it was ahead of its time, and I think it was behind its time. It was just the wrong effing time. How about that? WFT.
Yeah, and you mentioned how that tour came to an end, and then Alanis's people came in and saw Taylor and Nick, and
and hired them rightly.
And you regrouped a little later on, came out with a new label, a slightly different sound with Present. Future Bon Jovi collaborator John Shanks worked with you a bit on that, but it wasn't the same. I mean, did that period of the late 90s feel different to you than the early part did?
Hugely. First of all, I was pregnant, so there's that. That changes everything, I gotta tell you. And I moved back to Canada from Los Angeles, and I was just not in a good place with the label that I was with, and it was just everything was kind of keka poo poo, including that record. So if you really if I listen, which I don't, but if I think about the records that I've made, there's a single one of them that sounds like another one of them. They're all different. Every single one, except for the last two, which are very blues oriented. Those are most similar sounding records I've ever made. The two that actually sound similar. But I'm an artist, and I get bored. I luckily don't. I'm not, a starving artist. That's very helpful. Thank God. So I get to do what I'd like to do. And at this point in my life, I really think it's appropriate. And it's funny because I was listening to something by Ricky Lee Jones the other day. She has a new record out called Pieces of Treasure, it's called, which it's like jazz stuff. I mean, that woman is utterly brilliant, and she's never been anything less than an artist. Do you know what I mean? And her records very rarely sound alike either. The only thing that's the same in her records is her voice, right? And I think it's the same with me. I really do. And I've been extremely, extremely fortunate in that I have a core group of people that like my voice. And so they will follow, you know, even when I do something, they go like, oh, for fuck's sake, Sass, I don't like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they're still super cool about it. And you know what, Jeff, in the end, I gotta tell you, it almost at this point doesn't seem to be as much about the actual music itself as it is about the intention and the vibration and the frequency that you perform it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like it's like I'm beginning to see something very different here about music that I wasn't aware of before. First of all, the far-reaching ability of music to heal and to uplift, as well as to destroy. You know, it's the intention behind it.
Yeah, it goes both ways.
Yeah, it absolutely, just like everything on this, on this earth, as you know, everything, it's a dual, or everything's dualistic. Anyways, so it's I'm going to places now I've never been before, and the excitement level is hard to contain.
If we could jump forward a bunch of decades in your career, I got to ask you about just one of my favorite records ever was when you reunited with Brian Tichy for
oh my God,
Something Unto Nothing. I love that record.
So do I.
Michael Devlin of Whitesnake, Tommy Stewart, who spent some time in Godsmack, you and Brian. Why was there never a follow-up?
Devin. It's because, oh my God, so many. So we do have about 5 songs that we started for the second thing. Oh, such a variety of things happen. You know, I mean, I can't even really remember. It was tricky because I had to go out there and stay at Brian's house. You know what I mean? And it's like, ooh, it was intense. And it just got to be not unsustainable as far as all of that kind of stuff is going. But I agree with you. You know what? I want to re-release that.
Yeah. I
think it should be remastered and re-released. And Tish and Brian's on board with me and with that. So I think we're going to be doing that sometime in the next while. Who knows when? But you know, before we die. That's the plan, although you never know with death. But yeah, I love that record too. And it's funny you should mention that, Jeff, because stylistically speaking, that's the closest thing to Rats, isn't it?
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
In way back in the intro, I mentioned that you were influential, and that's kind of why I brought up a lot of the people you've played with, because a lot of this amazing talent really kind of started off playing with you and then branched out all over. And I also think that as a woman in the early 90s, you really helped blaze that path for people like Alanis Morissette, like Beth Hart. But what was it like for you sort of being out there on your own as a woman in that time playing this kind of music? Was it a struggle?
Yes, it was. I don't know if it would have been a struggle no matter, you know, what kind of music. I don't know. There were no others really. I mean, maybe there were, and I'm being an asshole and not remembering. I don't really think there were, though. Like, I would have known, I'm pretty sure, but or in that genre, my genre. Well, to this day, I really don't. There aren't really that many female who sing in that genre, you know. And pardon me, even if they do, it's not necessarily my favorite. But there are some phenomenal ones. Yeah, it was extremely tough, but so what? What isn't? Oh,
Exactly.
Jeff, I have to go in a minute. I have to go in a minute, honey. I'm so sorry, but I got another thing I got to do.
Yeah, well, just quickly, anything coming up? Any other new music, touring, anything?
Well, I am doing, I got a bunch of dates that are booked. They're on my website, sassjordan.com. And there's a ton of other stuff coming up, but let's let it come up. And then if it does, like if it actually happens, let's chat again.
Yep,
baby.
you come right back here and talk about it. We've been spending some time with Sass Jordan. The record is live in 1994. It's amazing. Sass, thank you so much. This has been a blast getting to talk.
It was lovely talking to you, and you had some fabulous questions. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you to your listeners.
We'll do it again soon.
Talk soon, sweetheart. Ciao for now.